What if everything about self-improvement you've learned is actually hurting you? We've established an entire system around the notion that we're basically damaged, continuously fixing ourselves like broken equipment. But here's the radical truth. The foundational premise that you require mending is what's genuinely broken. Picture an ocean wave suddenly becoming aware and freaking out because it's not hard like stone, because it ceaselessly changes contours. The wave would seek to correct itself and become more solid. How illogical would that appear? Yet this is exactly the way we humans function daily. The wave is already flawless in its nature. Yet we've sold ourselves the idea that we're imperfect undertakings needing continuous rebuilding. We've been sold a backward story. You contain challenges requiring solutions, elements needing enhancement, and if you work sufficiently hard and discover the correct technique, you can eventually repair yourself and become your intended self. This narrative is so threaded through our culture that we scarcely doubt it. We embrace our position as eternal projects under construction. However, what if this foundation is totally reversed? Here's something radical. You were never damaged, never partial, never a matter needing remedies. The sole element needing fixing is the conviction that you require fixing. Ponder nature. When you witness a tree, you don't rate its limbs as substandard. The tree is splendid precisely as it appears. It expands and adapts to its conditions, yet doesn't conduct conferences about self-improvement. We humans have evolved this capability to become our own evaluators and overseers. We gaze in the mirror and observe a restoration case requiring effort. Trees gain wisdom too, identifying which root to grow toward radiance, how to embed roots more deeply. However, trees don't afflict themselves over insufficient size. They react organically to what existence offers. The contrast is trees believe in their essence, while we've learned to mistrust ours. We've been conditioned to believe our impulses are suspect, our answers likely faulty. So we construct an internal overseer, judging everything we undertake. Am I delivering enough results? Am I growing at the proper velocity? It's tiring, like carrying a control freak in your mind, constantly discovering you deficient. However, this overseer isn't who you are. It's incorporated criticisms, absorbed standards from parents, mentors, and society. You've taken in a committee causing you to feel endlessly insufficient. But who is aware of this committee? Who observes these judgments? Something within you watches this show without being consumed. That element is your true nature. You're not the beliefs about yourself. You are the awareness wherein all this emerges, like weather systems moving through sky. The sky is never harmed by atmospheric conditions. Storms come and go, yet the sky remains infinite. In the same way, ideas of inadequacy arrive and leave, yet your fundamental nature stays pristine. You can shift and flourish without the tale that you're inherently flawed. See small children acquiring walking skills. They fall repeatedly. Do they generate tales about being defective? Certainly not. They stand and try again because walking seems pleasurable. Learning takes place instinctively, playfully, without self-assessment. There are two paths to change. One presumes you're damaged, like a mechanic correcting a defective motor. The other acknowledges you're already complete, like a gardener believing in natural evolution. The technician battles while the gardener cooperates with life. Most development approaches are mechanical. We treat ourselves like robots requiring better software. Yet what if you're more like a garden with organic wisdom? When you trust this intelligence, you stop fighting yourself. Instead of forcing yourself into molds, you allow your shape to emerge. When you stop combating yourself, you liberate colossal energy for experiencing life. Consider how much energy you spend evaluating yourself. Picture if that energy were obtainable for existing fully. The individual who realizes their intact roots, energy toward expression and uncovering. Here's something remarkable. When you discontinue attempting to mend yourself, issues you believed required fixing frequently resolve themselves. When you end producing self-critique, your understanding becomes clear. Much of what we think is wrong emerges from trying to repair what was never broken. You might assume you have an anxiety disorder and use strategies to correct it, but this effort creates more anxiety. What if experiencing anxiety sometimes is completely fine? When you cease making anxiety an issue, it often evaporates naturally. We've been indoctrinated to think we ought to experience certain ways: content, self-assured, tranquil. But feelings are the meteorology of awareness, periodically stormy, periodically serene. This isn't malfunction. This same truth applies to character traits we view as defects. Maybe you're introverted in a culture celebrating extroversion. Rather than adjusting these qualities, appreciate them as your special contribution. Oaks don't attempt becoming pine trees. Rivers don't feel sorry for not being mountains. When you embrace your nature totally, something fantastic emerges. You cease depleting vitality, being what you aren't. This doesn't imply you never grow, but learning comes from curiosity rather than inadequacy. You expand because growth is delightful. Young ones don't toil at imagination, they just imagine instinctively and easily. We acquired the habit of mistrusting organic intelligence. We've converted our inner world into a company with assessments, yet your authentic essence still exists, waiting for you to remember you were never defective in the first place. Here's a seeming impossibility. The harder you try to perfect yourself, the more you solidify needing betterment. But when you recognize you were never broken, improvement happens naturally, effortlessly. When you rely on your nature, evolution happens like flowers opening, wonderfully in their proper season. This isn't laziness, but reliance on the intelligence that sustains your heartbeat. So here's an offering. Conduct an experiment. For one day, stop trying to fix yourself. View that day as a gift to embrace. Greet emotions without modifying them. Notice thoughts without judging. Handle yourself like a dear friend, with tenderness, patience, and light-heartedness. You might learn you're amazing exactly as you are. This is the revelation. You were never flawed. You're already full, already complete, already enough. You're not removed from existence. You are existence expressing itself through human form, and life is a festival. We're all waves within the same waters, each one of a kind, each entire, each temporary. When you perceive this as actual experience, you can finally sink into being who you are. Who you truly are is more wonderful than who you believe you should be. You don't require transforming into something more like existence because you are life delighting in being you. The wave is the sea experiencing itself as a wave. If these ideas spoke to your heart, I heartily invite you to subscribe to the channel. Follow for more material that questions mainstream thinking about individual growth and self-betterment, and post a comment below with the word whole to let me know you're ready to accept your complete, whole self precisely as you exist right now.